Matt is the proud owner of MaidThis Tampa. He's been in the game for a few months now. I think he has an incredible backstory about how he left the 9 to 5, potentially even got back to 9 to 5 and starting his lifestyle business. Matt, thanks so much for hopping on, dude.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, Matt, so you are the owner of MaidThis Tampa. You're running this business. You have a lot of other things you're doing. You're doing in the Airbnb game, you're in the real estate game, you're in the points game, which we're going to talk about soon. Walk me back to, let's say, a year ago in your career. What were you doing at that time?
Yeah. So at that time, a year ago, I was working for a company called Stryker. I was in medical device sales, and I did predominantly trauma med device. So it was a lot of late nights, weekends, holidays, and
Hmm.
I did that for about 6.5 years. On top of that, my wife and I, we have a couple of Airbnbs, so we manage those, and basically everything, honestly, everything was kind of overall going great, and we were very happy. But we kind of wanted to win back some of our time.
What did you feel like at your 9 to 5? Was it more of a lifestyle thing of why you wanted to get on entrepreneurship, or was it a monetary thing?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the money is great in medical device, so no complaints there. But kind of with anything that I do, and especially with that job, you can pretty much always be working, and your work comes home
Hmm.
with you. And at the end of the day, it's not something that I can pass down. It's not a business that I own. It's a job. It's a W-2.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about the Airbnbs is that we have 3 units here in Tampa, and we will always own those units, right?
Yep.
With a job, I can't pass that down. So for me, it was kind of more of like a temporary thing. Like anyone that works a job, you kind of go to retirement, and I've always been just really interested in wanting to build and grow something that I can own and also pass down to build that kind of generational wealth.
Yeah. Matt, I was just thinking about it. Like, I think probably people listening to this podcast are inspired by entrepreneurship in some way or another. And I've always wondered, like, where does that seed come from? Does everyone have that, but most people don't take the plunge? Uh, were your parents in business, or were they 9 to 5s the entire time?
No, my dad's still working. See, he's 63, 64 years old.
Hmm.
He's worked for the same company for over 40 years, doing sales. So he works now basically as a global consultant, gets to travel everywhere. He still works, hard and everything, but obviously he's a different point of his career where he kind of gets to pick and choose. So every 5 weeks he will travel to somewhere internationally, basically where they're
Hmm.
launching an office. And my mom raised my brother and I would argue had the tougher job of the two. So yeah, my parents had a condo in 007 that they sold, of course, with the housing crisis, like most people, I feel
Hmm.
like. But we're never into real estate, no side businesses, no side hustles, and it, for me, it's kind of, I guess the odd one in the family that's kind of chosen this direction.
Why do you think that's the case?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I think I'm just wired a little bit differently.
Mm.
Um, it's one of those things for me that I constantly just like to be busy. Um, so in a lot of different jobs that works, and for med device and sales or anything that's quota driven, when you're not, I never wanted a job where have to sit at a desk and just clock in, clock out. Like I couldn't do
Yeah.
that no matter what, just because I like just my personality is I get involved in something, I tend to get, obsessed with it, and it's all I can think
Mm.
about. I just have to kind of just dive into things. Um, so for me, I think it's just a personality that I have, and I just enjoy constantly just being motivated and driven to do some different things. And for me, kind of entrepreneurship is
Yeah.
in like a fun route, and I had success with the Airbnbs, and I knew that there was an opportunity there with the business. And to be honest, I wanted to buy a business or I wanted to be involved in a business. And it didn't really matter to me what it was. I just wanted it to be, recession proof to a degree,
Mm.
which I feel like cleaning is, and also future proof. Like, I don't think there's going to be robot maids going around in the future, at least not in my
Right.
lifetime. And that kind of vertically integrated with the Airbnb
Yeah.
business.
I think in your case, it kind of just made sense. And Matt, I believe the way you came through the funnel was you worked with one of our franchisees, Orlando, to clean your unit, and you're like, oh, maybe I should just start this myself. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty close to it. So I had a bad experience with some cleaners, and it was a small company, I guess, which there's a lot of, and
Hmm.
basically disappeared on us. They took half of our linens when they left,
Jeez.
and from that point, I'm like, all right, I need to find a company, not just a person that can disappear on me like this. That I'm
Mm.
selling money to, thousands of dollars a week, whatever it is,
Yeah.
of kind of turnovers that you have. And that's how I stumbled upon MaidThis. Like, okay, I want a company behind it, so I know, hey, if my cleaners take half my linens, like I can call someone that's trying to pick up the phone and
Yeah.
stand behind what happened. So I found Orlando, in St. Pete, gave them a call, and basically, to be honest, I more so wanted just to vet the process, and like before I invested in the
Yeah.
system or whatever, like, hey, like let me just like check this team out, like see how it goes, and see how responsive are, make sure they show up, and all that stuff. So it it was more of a vetting process. I wanted to kind
Yeah.
of be an unknown going in, and yeah,
Yeah.
work out.
Cool.
Yeah,
Is I think in your case it's I don't know if somewhat unique though because you had Airbnbs. We have a couple of franchisees who have Airbnbs, so they get it. They're like, oh, okay, cleaning, it's vertically integrated. It makes a lot of sense. You said something earlier which I thought was interesting is you were specifically looking for a business to start that's an asset, that's recession proof. You didn't really care what it is. I think that's a little bit different from what a lot of people get into business for. Like even when I started, I wanted something shiny, right? E-commerce, drop shipping, like something which feels highly scalable and a little bit more new age tech age. I don't think you had that thought process at all. I mean, for you, it was just it doesn't really matter what the vehicle is as long as it gets me the end result. Is that accurate, or did you also go through the phase of trying to find like a cool business, quote unquote, before you settled on cleaning?
yeah. No, I think that's pretty accurate. To me, like I don't think the business needs to be sexy, for lack
Mm,
of a better term. Like listen. One of the things I do, I just love listening to different YouTube channels and everything. And I know, sometimes it's the most boring businesses that are the most profitable.
yep.
Not that there aren't certain excitements that involve running a cleaning company, because there certainly are. But I think as far as me choosing cleaning, it definitely predominantly just because was mostly just because of owning the Airbnbs and knowing like, okay, like I know at least like I can save myself $1,000 a month by
Mm,
having my own cleaners, that I subcontract out or whatever, and I knew that, okay, that's like a safety valve for me.
yep.
And I know that I already understand the cleaning business. I understand Airbnb cleaning. I also, like the opportunity, because I believe that, I was looking for this business. I was looking for this company that I didn't know existed. Um, and you know the stats better than I do, but I know there's not very many franchise companies out there that have the technology platform that we do at MaidThis for
Hmm.
Airbnb. So there's, some unique technology associated with it. But kind of those reasons kind of all combined, it just seemed like the right opportunity for me and time in my life to be able to invest in it,
Yeah.
and also to kind of tell you, make you blush. Like, also really enjoy getting to meet you and talking to you. And I know one of the most important things is enjoying who you work with.
Yep.
And I trusted you. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. And um, I was just had some thoughts like while you're talking there. I think a lot of people like myself try to get into business, which maybe sounds good at the top end, like I said, e-commerce, drop shipping. What I realize in business, and Matt, maybe you realize this from running multiple businesses. You have the Airbnb business as well as cleaning. You're still dealing with the same kind of crap no matter what business you're in, right? Like the end product is such a minor percent of what you're doing, which is like 1%. You're still dealing with people, you're still dealing putting up fires, you're still dealing with payroll, you're still dealing with all that stuff no matter what business you're in. It's almost irrelevant what the end product is, minus certain things like if you're taking outsized risks, you're going to open up a gym, which costs a $2 million build out. It's a little bit more stress, right? But besides that, most of the problems you're dealing with are generally the same no matter what business, and that's kind of what I found over time. So anyways, it's kind of cool that you realize that earlier on, as opposed to kind of going through the gauntlet, being like, well, this highly competitive industry that everyone else is trying to get into is actually the exact same thing as a boring business, except you could cash a lot better with a boring business. But yeah, it was interesting to notice that. Matt, when you now, how long have you been in the MaidThis system?
So my
Okay, October 1st, it's 2023. Okay, so
23, yeah,
dude,
most likely.
I think I told you this in MaidThis last. I feel like you've been in the system so much longer. I'm like, oh, it's got to be at least a year, and you're like, no, it's been like 5 months. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Um,
I haven't been doing much else, I guess, besides working.
and Matt, when you launched, I'm curious, what was harder than expected? Like when people launch, I think sometimes people you're really excited, you have a lot of motivation. What was the hardest part for you in the last few months that you found?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think most people probably struggle with finding good labor,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, the cleaners are the ones that are, are basically, they're the ones doing the work. They're the ones that the clients see. As much as I can be on the phone, I am, and talking with clients and kind of building rapport with them. So I feel like I want to say it is just finding reliable labor, just knowing.
Mm,
I feel like when I go to hire someone or go to subcontract out cleans to somebody, I want to make sure, one, that they show up and they show up on time and they show up prepared. They have all the supplies that they need and everything. So I mean, just winning that battle like is already eliminates 50% or more of people that are interested in working with you.
hmm.
And of course, making sure they do a good job is the other half. And it is hard to find reliable people that do a very good job. And trying to get the pay to fit right and everything. So I guess my answer would probably be trying to get that reliable person that does a very good job and making
Yep.
sure you have enough business to feed them, to keep them happy and not wanting to take other jobs, right? So
Yep.
getting that first initial balance of cleans and cleaners.
Interesting. What skill set do you think you had to learn the most or develop, or that you, in hindsight, you're like, oh, I now know this that I didn't know a year ago. What kind of skill set is that?
I mean, I've always been pretty comfortable as far as just speaking on the phone or, closing, leads that come in or doing the best that I can. So it wasn't, I'm sure I've learned a lot when it comes to that, but it wasn't something that I at least was uncomfortable with. Same thing with customer service or receiving any sort of complaints.
Yep.
That really wasn't an issue. For me, I'm not very tech savvy. So I think kind of understanding the different platforms that we run and they're not that confusing was something I wanted to learn and be comfortable with. So, maybe being comfortable on those, making sure I assign everything appropriately to cleaners when they come on board, making sure I understand our dashboard for Airbnbs,
Yep.
understanding, the different checklists for me to put out, make sure the cleaners see everything. Um, so I'd say probably being comfortable with the technology is probably was the first hurdle. So
Mm,
understanding what I'm selling, I guess, was
yep.
part of it. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much difficulty as far as anything I remember like learning. I guess it was maybe uh, basically it was just kind of hiring and learning the best way to find the right cleaners for
Yep.
to the Tampa branch.
Yeah. And you know what's been interesting, Matt's like observing franchisees, and we're at about 25 locations now. Um, Everyone starts gravitating towards either a different customer segment or a different type of marketing. And when we first launched, I thought like, oh, these are the things that work for me. Everyone will do the same. And you kind of see people leaning towards, let's say, Airbnbs or not Airbnbs, or digital ads versus offline. And I'm feeling it's kind of personality based too. Like whether you're comfortable doing that or not, decide whether you're going to do it or not. The truth is, every single thing can't work. Just depends how much effort you put into it. Matt, in your experience, I'm curious on the marketing end. Now, remember, a lot of people listening might be brand new business owners, currently have their business, or just trying to get into the game. What marketing tactics have worked for you, and what would you recommend for new business owners to do from the start?
Yeah, I mean, I think each business, your greatest asset is yourself, the owner,
Hmm.
because I really think that no one is going to care more about your business than yourself. I mean,
Yep.
you can hire anybody to work with your business, and they're not, at the end of the day, they're kind of punching the clock.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's hard because it's a catch-22 because you want to be working on your business, not in your business, right? So I think that there needs to be a nice balance there, and to know kind of what tasks are best performed by you as the owner. So is doing, assigning cleans and figuring out the pay for your people, like, is that the best use of your time? Well, maybe not. Like, that might not be the best use of your time. Maybe it's, if you're like, for me, I really enjoyed, like, honestly, just meeting people and going out into my community. So for me, I went to probably 100 different apartment complexes.
A hundred.
And oh yeah, easily
Man.
100,
Yeah.
easily 100. Yeah. Um, and I mean, was it a good use of my time? There's probably a lot of things I could have done on the phone, but was I able to get business out of it? Like, yes. Was I doing anything else with my time that would have been a better use of my time? Like at that point, probably not.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I might as well just go out and do it. And it also, you know, still learning the business. There's so much I can learn literally by just walking into an apartment complex, whether it's the credentialing platform, which we've talked about how to work with the larger
Mm-hmm.
complexes, making relationship with the property manager that happens to be there. It's just kind of like a lot of different pros out of just kind of being the face of your business. And then, if I do end up working with these clients, like they've already met me, like they know who
Yep.
I am. They know I'm going to pick up the phone. Like there's a face to the business. And I think that there's, some strength in that. So that's kind of one of the routes that I went.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of summarizing what you're saying, I think it depends a lot on what your strengths are and what you're comfortable with. Like I think your background in sales lended itself very well to showing up in person and doing in-person sales, right? And it's always tough because sometimes people have to get out of their comfort zone to do some stuff. But after they get out of their comfort zone, if they're still uncomfortable with it after like a month, maybe drop it. Like maybe you're not actually going to do this long enough for it to actually pay results. So I think it just definitely depends. Um, Matt, I kind of want to talk, and by the way, I'm asking this question completely selfishly about the points game. Now, Matt's a freaking genius when it comes to utilizing credit card points to go on trips. We were talking before this, and I think you told me you took a trip which normally would have cost $60,000 in cash, and you were able to do it for just a few thousand. Is that right?
Yeah. So my wife and I went to the Maldives, and it's something that's been on our bucket list since we probably started dating. I probably started talking about it then. And so one of the things that's a huge hobby, and I convinced my wife to be, the term is player two. So to start, saving up and everything with me.
Yeah.
So one of the YouTube channels that I watch a ton of is called Sebi. So I've learned a ton off that, his channel. But yeah, so we did Maldives, stayed at Waldorf Astoria there. I think the cash rate is probably close to $3,000. So we spent 10 nights. So we
Wow.
booked, yeah, so we booked four nights twice. And if you book 4 nights with points, you get the fifth night free. So, and we each have all, I don't know, four of the Hilton Amex cards. So
Okay.
basically, we go after sign up bonuses, and I'm going to probably get down a hole really quick with this conversation,
Yeah.
but basically, you know, I, we go after sign up bonuses, and we only go for the cards that you can downgrade a year later at no cost. So I'll pay the annual fee once.
Mm.
For year one. So, okay, I'll get the 150,000 Hilton points. That's great. Year two, I'll downgrade to the free version of the card. So now it doesn't cost me an annual fee to carry it and hold it, and I still save my credit by retaining the card, not canceling it.
And
So we go
what are the
after,
cards on the market that allow that for now?
oh, I mean, every major credit card company pretty much has them. So Chase has them. So if you have most common ones that Chase has, that everyone's kind of heard, the Sapphire Reserve,
Mm-hmm.
Sapphire, you can downgrade those to a Freedom Flex card or the Freedom Unlimited card, and there's a lot of small rules that kind of go along with it, like having access to their point system and such. But another example, if you own a business, the Chase Inc. card, so they have the Chase Inc. Preferred, costs
Mm.
$100 a year. You can get that sign up bonus. Year two, you downgrade it to the free Chase Inc. unlimited card or chasing cash. One thing I also always know with credit cards, you want to make sure you get the sign up bonus for
Okay.
every card before you downgrade it to that. So I'll end on this, but if you have that Chase Inc. preferred card, right? It costs $100. Let's say you want to downgrade it to the Chase Inc. cash. You
Yeah.
can do that, but you will then lose the chance for the sign-up bonus for the Chase Inc. cash card. So you
So
want to
secure
make
the
sure you
bonus first.
secure the bonus first and then downgrade your other card to that card. So then that would be your second one.
Matt, how
So
many cards are you signing up for annually, let's say, to get the sign-up bonuses?
yeah, it's a little bit different now than it was when I was working my full-time job, just because, right, in order to sign up for these cards, you have to have the required minimum spend, right? So with, with anything, like, you have to be spending that. I don't want to be spending money on purpose necessarily just to hit sign-up bonuses.
Yep.
So this year's been pretty slow just because I'm not spending that money anyway. I've saved up all my money to be able to launch this business and get it going and everything. So we'll talk about it in a little bit, kind of getting back into the 9 to 5. So then I'll, probably end up just naturally probably spending more money as a result. So I'll get back into the cards. But to be honest, I probably have between 15 to 20 credit cards right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, we're definitely gonna,
yeah.
yeah. We're definitely gonna do a deep dive in the MaidThis community with points and stuff because I just want to learn this game as well. So we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah.
Matt, let's go back to the business and where you're at right now. So you launched MaidThis. It's going. You're doing a lot of apartment complexes. I know you're closing a lot of contracts. And interestingly enough, you recently went back to a 9 to 5. And I wouldn't call it like a full-time 9 to 5. I think you're doing more freelance type work. Can you explain this transition and what's happened right now?
Yeah. So for me, I've been running, by myself the MaidThis Tampa location for what, 10 months almost or so. And it is, it's a lot. I mean, we've grown. I don't, know exactly how quickly the other franchises grow, but I mean, to me, we've grown very quickly, and it's become, for me, it was a full-time job, right? So our gross revenue got up to 19,000 a month, and I was like swamped just in the weeds, right? And for me, going back to reasons like why I wanted to run a business is because I did not want to work a job.
Yep.
I wanted to own a business, right? I didn't want the second job, and for me, it was too much. And like, okay, this isn't where I want to be. Like, I don't want to be constantly, and there's no breaks too, because we have cleans on weekends. There's constant communication with clients and cleaners, and I needed to shut it down a little bit. So for me, I needed to hire someone and bring somebody in. So in doing that and paying someone else to come in and run your day-to-day business, obviously that costs money, and that is part of my revenue that goes to support my lifestyle. And I know in general, owning a new business, you probably should not be able to pay for your lifestyle with a business that's 6 months old. It's probably ridiculous to think that you can do that anyway, but basically was. And I knew that for me to be able to pay someone to run everything day to day, I can't support my lifestyle, and probably not the best decision for me to try to do that anyway. So for me, I decided, okay, once again, what's the best use of my time? So I decided, all right, I'm going to hire someone that is very, capable of running the business day to day, and I'm going to go get another job, medical device job, not one that's as demanding as where I was previously doing, but something that I can also make a good amount of money and be able to put and devote some of that to help grow my business a little bit more, and not trying to pull money out of my business to support my lifestyle. In a way, I can look at it as almost like trying to supercharge it a little bit more to help grow it quicker, and also relieve myself of the daily tasks. Because obviously I found that, Monday to Sunday, I don't like handling all logistics of running a business that is as busy as we are. I need help, and especially when it comes to hiring, like, I can't hit everything by myself. So that's kind of one of the main reasons. I still have it and will grow it, but also it, pulls me out of the day to day. So now I can no longer work in my business. I'm going to be working, on it.
Yep. It was, I mean, I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you did, and I think it takes a lot of people time to get there. But the truth is, like, I don't think it's a step back at all, going and building a cash flow in, you know, pretty much what you're calling your current 9 to 5 is now your side hustle. Like it's just flipped. Like that's your side hustle, which is not going to fund your main business, and that's kind of like the circular part of it. But I think typically when franchisees join, they need either time or money, ideally both, to provide oxygen to the business, let it grow. Most people, if they're deprived of one, it's going to be tougher, right? And in your case, kind of what you're saying is, and the business need more cash to get you out of the business and also to grow. You went to go find more cash to put back in the business to get it to grow faster. And I think that simple change is giving it a little bit more engine oil or more fuel is going to make it grow significantly faster than if you spent all your time in there but weren't able to devote the capital to it as well. So I think it was a really, really wise move.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, exactly kind of how I feel. And I mean, you can get burnt out pretty quickly running a business that, doesn't shut down basically, and we don't. So there's definitely part of that involved too.
Definitely. Matt, last question here. Uh, how has your experience been in the MaidThis system, the support system, and just everything over the last 10 months? If someone was interested in the MaidThis system, I'm curious what you would say to them.
Yeah, I mean, I love the business. If I go back, I wouldn't change anything. I'm glad that we invested in it. I'm glad that we have the business. I think that if you're interested in owning a business and you enjoy, I mean, I think it really depends if you're going to want to work in it or not. And I think what I did is probably different, maybe than some people. Like, I don't know if everyone is going to want to immediately quit their jobs and run their business and be a one man or one woman show for a year to 12 months, or kind of maybe it's best to probably figure out like, okay, like give me 3 months to get this thing up and running and learn the business and understand it, and then I have the runway to hire someone that can handle the tasks that aren't necessarily worth my time to do, or
Yep.
I can get it off. So I think having the right expectation of how you want to go about running your business is probably important to have. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I look at the sales that we have for the business, and of course I'm familiar with having a quota for med device, and every year your quota goes up for your job. And for this, like no, like there's no quota. Like any customer you have, like we love to keep the repeat customers. If you're a customer in a year, we'll still take your money. Like that's
Yep.
great, and those are the relationships that you want to build. Those are the customers that are more valuable. So I think that that's kind of an important thing to distinguish, and knowing that hey, this isn't like anything. It's not a get rich quick scheme or anything like that. Like you are literally investing in something, and depending on what your financial flexibility is how much time you can devote to it and do it. Maybe you can leave your job, maybe you can't. Maybe it's a 5-year plan where you're going to continue working your job, but you're going to slowly, try to get, grow your cleaning business by working extra on weekends, doing, door to door calls or going to apartment complexes, what have you. But like anything, you just need to invest the appropriate amount of time to be able to grow it.
Yep. Well said, man. Well, Matt, thanks so much for hopping on, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.